thank you, first of all, for coming along to this Get a session on the inclusive classroom and looking at how we can make changes and why we should make changes to really include every single pupil of no matter their ability or any support that they may need, so that every single child has the opportunity to excel and become the best that they can possibly become. And I think it's important at this time that I introduce myself. My name is Paul Watkins. Everyone calls me Lanny. It's a name I got stuck with when I was a student, and everyone except for my own mother and the doctor call me Lanny. I'm an IT and computing teacher from Wales in the United Kingdom. Teacher at a Microsoft Showcase school called Ysgol by Baglan, which is great fun when I have friends from the States trying to pronounce the Welsh names. I've been teaching now for 14 years, have experience of leading subject areas, delivering whole school IT training for staff, as well as being involved in the pastoral leadership within the school as well, and part of a pastoral management team. I am a Microsoft Innovative Educator Fellow for Wales, which means that I'm involved in supporting teachers and schools that are within the Microsoft education ecosystem within the country, and also kind of encouraging and supporting others who wish to join that. I'm a student voice ambassador with Flipgrid. I'm a Skype master teacher. And I'm also very proud to sit on Welsh Government's National Digital Learning Council and being involved in the exciting developments that we have in Wales at the moment, where a huge investment has been made over the years for a national platform so that every single child has access to the same tools, software. All schools have the same access with regards to internet, so that there is a level playing field for every single child and across the country, which is a wonderful situation to find ourselves in. And I'm really proud and honoured to have been asked to be a speaker within GETA this summer. And what we're going to be looking at today is the inclusive classroom. And I wonder, if I was to ask you, what would you define as an inclusive classroom? What would you come up with? If you were to sit down and doodle, lots of people are now doing these sketch notes and are drawing these sketch notes. And sorry, I got disturbed again by my daughter, because it helps them to understand visually, maybe a plan or a concept or an idea, what yours would look like. And here's an example of one that I found that's been kind of cropped, and I love the different areas that it touches upon. And you can see from that there's peer support, there is belonging, a big part of it, there is how do we identify and engage with withdrawn pupils and disengaged and bring them into it? How do we set the tone in the classroom? How do we learn within that environment? And really at the heart of it all is this word community. And it's the establishment of a learning community where people feel part of it, people feel belong to it, people are able to grow and also to excel in everything that they do. And that's really what we're going to be looking at today, especially with aspects of social and emotional learning and the accessibility, because nowadays these are things that every single teacher needs to be aware of. You may think, well, I haven't actually got any children who may have been identified as having these needs. They haven't necessarily gone through any form of testing and may have a statement that supports their need of support within their education. But I'll share some examples of teachers who have had concerns about pupils, and using some of the tools we look at today it's had a huge impact on those individuals. So first of all, let's have a look at the whole area of social and emotional learning. As it says there, it's the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. And when we look at that statement, we can see how it plays such a key role in establishing a learning community within a classroom. And really, not only within a classroom, but later on in life, when you look at the communities that we live within and we work within. And this is why we have seen almost like an explosion online of leaders and teachers discussing the work that is going on or needs to go on around this area of social and emotional learning. Because when time is invested in it and pupils are helped to develop their social skills and start to understand themselves and their emotions, we can see the impact it has on them, and it improves their attitude towards themselves and others. And it also increases that pupil's academic performance. And that has been identified through research that is readily available. When we think about ourselves, what had the biggest impact on you as a pupil? I think it's safe to say that those two words hold such power. Being told, well done. Receiving that star on your work. Do you know what? It doesn't matter how old you get. When you leave the classroom and you enter the working life, to have somebody turn to you and praise you and say, well done, there's nothing quite like it. And sadly, there are many, many children who will never actually hear those words spoken to them at home. And it impacts them emotionally, and it has an impact on the way that they view themselves and their self-worth. And then we see that impact in their education, and we see it impact the relationship they have with their peers and the way that they engage with their peers, because they feel they have no self-value. And that is why, as teachers, we need to make sure that every time a pupil deserves praise, we give the praise to that pupil. I was talking with a friend just this week, and I'm mid-40s now, and I still love it when I hear my dad or my mum say to me, well done, we're proud of you. You never get too old for that. And those are two words which can seriously affect for good the pupils that we have within our classroom. Never forget the way that you feel when you were told those things, because those children will feel the same way as well. And Brian Dyson gives us this quote. He says, don't forget, a person's greatest emotional need is to feel appreciated. When somebody does something in your class, thank you for doing that. Making them feel special, making them feel like they've had a huge impact in a piece of group work that they've done, encouraging the pupils to kind of thank each other and praise each other for the impact they've had and what they've brought to group work as well, and nurturing that in the way that they are as well is just as important. This isn't something that is just going to be done overnight. This isn't something where you say, do you know what, I'm going to go back to my class when my pupils return, and I'm going to start saying thank yous, and I'm going to start praising, and I'm going to start giving opportunities from day one to develop their emotional skills, and everything's going to be brilliant straight away. Do you know what? It takes time, but it is worth investing in. And we are told that there's no easy way of doing it. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be lots of twists and turns. Things may need to be adapted from the plans that you had. And even till then, many adults never master it. But practice makes better. I often think about riding a bike. Do you know, it takes some people longer to get there. Some people, the moment they pick up a bike, just seem to have it, and before you know it, they're going off jumps and are doing tricks on it as well. Others, it takes longer. But the important thing is that we start practicing with the young children, and they will get better and be able to express their emotions and also control their behavior, because often when they're not able to express themselves and when they're not able to control behavior, they will disengage themselves from the class. They will disengage themselves from the teacher. And when they do that, they are disengaging themselves from education and from community and from support. So that's why it's important that as schools we look at investing in this from a young age. How many of you can relate to this pupil? How many of you have ever got frustrated with a piece of work that you've been given because you simply don't understand it? How many of you have seen this in your own pupils, that they struggle with something? There is that frustration that builds up into anger, which often leads to, I'm not going to do it. In the last few years, a tool has been developed which has impacted the classroom like no other tool has, because it has helped so many teachers, so many pupils to be able to access the work that the teachers are setting. And the amazing thing is, this tool is absolutely free. And it still surprises me how many teachers still are completely unaware of it. And I'm wondering right now, how many of you are starting to or know what I'm going to say next? It's the Immersive Reader, and it's the learning tools within that. Voted the top dyslexia tool. It is allowing pupils who have struggled to access content to be able to access that work and complete it. There are often pupils who will sit there and say, I don't want to do the work. See, that actually does not mean I can't do the work, but it means that I can't access it, but I'm actually embarrassed to say. See, pupils don't like losing face in front of their peers. Pupils will often behave in a certain way, knowing that it could potentially get them into trouble, because they see that as a better option than their friends realizing that they aren't able to read as well as others. Now, the Immersive Reader helps not just pupils with dyslexia, but also pupils with a low chronological reading age. And the impact it's had has been massive. I was fortunate enough to speak at a DigiMeet in the northern part of Wales, and I shared Immersive Reader with the teachers who were there. And there were about 250 teachers in the room, and I asked the question, how many of you have heard of Immersive Reader? And about 8 hands went up, which surprised me, if I'm honest. But one of the teachers who was there, as she heard me talking about Immersive Reader, it got her thinking about an individual in her class, a young lad who'd been struggling with reading. Now, he had not been tested for dyslexia, but with her teacher intuition, she had her thoughts that it could help. And she sent me 2 videos about a month after. And she said, I can't share these on social because I don't want the pupil to be identified. But since I was introduced to Immersive Reader, I went back and I've tried it with this pupil. And the 2 videos, one was this child reading with the book, and then the other one was reading the same book, but through Immersive Reader. You would not have believed it was the same child. And I actually cried as I was watching it. And she'd put a message on the sign. She said, because of Immersive Reader, this boy now has a future. Because of Immersive Reader, doors are going to open to him that previously wouldn't have opened. See, what Immersive Reader does is it removes stigma from the classroom. I have seen pupils who have gone from the worried and avoid work because they know they struggle, but are too ashamed to ask for the help, to, without a thought in the world, sitting down at their PC and opening up OneNote and seeing the work that the teachers distributed to them and switching straight to Immersive Reader, putting their headphones on and then engaging with the task. I'm even seeing the pupils who we would class as our top of the class pupils utilizing Immersive Reader to double check their work, that they are using the readback function within it to listen, to find any typing errors or grammar errors they may have made in it as well. So it's helping those pupils who may not necessarily need that educational support to actually improve their work as well. The fact that you can change the filters on it to suit those children, because we all know that the different pupils may use different reading filters. The fact that you can adjust the line spacing, the fact that you can have focused reading, so it narrows down to 1 line, 3 lines, or 5 lines. And the fact that you can break it down into syllables makes it the tool that every single teacher should have in their toolkit, and every single child in a class should be aware of this tool. And we're going to go one step further and say, and every single parent should be aware of this tool as well, because they can access it at home as well, because it's completely free. And I love what Catherine has written there, that the Immersive Reader is the spell check of the 21st century. There's a teacher in Scotland who's got a wonderful quote. I wish it would come to mind now, and I can see, I think I saw Adam was on here, and if he can remember what Chris said about Immersive Reader and how he uses it for his emails, if he could type it, if he can remember it, don't worry if you can't, Adam, but if you can, type it in the chat, because when he said it at Beck this year, we all laughed because he was spot on with what he said, and it was all to do with using Immersive Reader for reading emails. But hopefully Adam remember. If he doesn't, don't worry. But also within Immersive Reader, we've got this picture dictionary. So if a pupil sees a word that they're not quite sure what it is, just by placing the cursor on it, they are able to get a visual representation of what that word is, and they will know straight away what it is. So even though they may not recognize the word, they will know what it is, and then we'll be able to start working on the pronunciation and on the spelling. The fact that you can slow the reading down, that you can change the voice. Immersive Reader is one of the best things that's come out from Microsoft as far as I'm concerned, and I love all the products they have for a long time. And I can see Adam's begging Adam, but he'll find it out, and I know he will. And what we found is that when Immersive Reader first of all just sat within OneNote, it is permeating out. We know that it's in Word, we know that it's in Outlook, we know that it's in Edge, it's in Teams, and we can see it here built into Teams. But what I love as well is that we've got Translate in there as well, and we've got the translation function that's built into Immersive Reader. And do you remember right at the start I said about how the inclusive classroom is all about establishing a community? When we are using Microsoft Teams, that is the place where our community works. And we've got Immersive Reader and Translate sitting right there in Immersive Reader. And Patty said, is it grade specific? No, it's not. Immersive Reader is built into apps such as Office Lens, or the new Office app that you can download onto a mobile phone or a mobile device. You could literally get the page. So it could be the most simple page that from a book that the child is reading, and you can scan it, and then from your device, Immersive Reader can kick in and help the child that way. But yeah, it's not grade specific. It is a tool for the teacher to kind of help the pupil with. And from a young age, it's good for them to know that it's available to them as well. There's some wonderful resources online at education.microsoft.com, where there are courses all about accessibility that will take you a lot deeper into these things. So even within Teams, which is an online place for a community to work, these tools are built in so that every single child can engage with each other and support each other and help each other and access the work through there as well. For a number of years, we had the message that would come down if you've got a pupil who's audio impaired to come and sit at the front of the class. And we've often had the pupils who, because of the worry and concern of what their peers may say, refuse sometimes to wear those aids. And we are asked, can you sit them at the front of the class so that they are closer to you speaking, but also they may have developed the ability to lip read. But those pupils don't like sitting at the front of the class, again, because there's a stigma attached to it. And you don't want to engage in a argument and debate with those children in front of their peers. So when we are using YouTube, switch the captions on. There's nothing wrong in that, and it means that those pupils are able to access the live captioning that happens in a video. So always think about these little things. If you're playing a video in your classroom, have the captions on so that the pupils are able to access that. And within PowerPoint, we've also got the live captioning that's available in that as well. So that if you are giving a presentation, have the microphone on your device that you were standing by, or if you're fortunate enough to get hold of a microphone, a wireless one, have that connected up to your computer that the PowerPoint's running on, and it will have the subtitles as you speak that will come up across the screen. But even better than that, you can change the languages. So it's not just going to help if you've got pupils who are audio impaired, or if you've even got pupils in your class who are English as a second language, you are looking at bringing them in to your classroom. You are allowing them to be part of it. And even if they struggle with the written English with what's up on the screen, and even if they struggle at first to kind of keep up maybe with the pace of the lesson, they are able to access it through the subtitles in their first language to help them through that lesson, feeling part of that lesson, understanding what is being taught, not feeling outside of the classroom, not being included in everything that we are going on. Small little things, often a tick box in the software that we're using that is once again enabling an inclusive classroom and bringing in those who would have previously been disengaged. And if you have seen social media in recent weeks, you would have seen the announcement of PowerPoint Live. And from that, it is simply giving a short URL or scanning a QR code, which from a device, the pupil is able to watch the PowerPoint and also have the subtitles or the transcript in their language. So we may be in a situation where you are having pupils who may come to a lesson with a translator to help and support them. They may have just arrived in the country for whatever reason. The language of your school may not be what they are familiar with. Translators are not always available to be with them, but now they can still be part of the lesson and take part in everything that is going on and not fall behind and not sit there feeling so isolated, because that is what the inclusive classroom is not about. It's not about isolation. It's about inclusion. So there's some brilliant videos. Mike Tholfsen is always the one who is kind of announcing all of these on social. So go and check out PowerPoint Live that's just been released and start thinking about the pupils who would benefit from it in your classroom. How many of you have ever used Accessibility Checker? It's one of those things that we find on the Review tab in Microsoft Office, in the different apps there, that is often overlooked and not looked at. But when we spend a long time producing a slide deck that we're going to teach from, or producing a worksheet, go to check accessibility and it will report back to you areas that you need to address on the documents that you have created that pupils with accessibility needs will struggle with. And it doesn't just say you've got a problem here, you've got a problem here, you've got a problem here. It will actually go and tell you how to fix those problems as well, giving you the help and advice. So get into the habit of, when you create a new resource, run the accessibility checker and just make sure that, is it going to be suitable for all the class? You may not have pupils at the moment who may have accessibility issues, but if you have in the future, you know that all of your resources are suitable for them. And this is also the type of tool which you should really be kind of sharing with your colleagues as well, as they produce their resources. And literally it runs within seconds. It's just absolutely superb. And it gets you thinking about the way that you create your resources as well. You may not be aware of this, but right at the start of the time where there was remote learning and school closures, Microsoft put together this wonderful resource that has brought together everything you need to know about supporting teachers, pupils and parents around the area of special educational and accessibility needs. And this resource is a wonderful tool for teachers and also for the parents. So the parents from at home know that based on the needs of their child, the needs of the pupil, what is there within the apps that I use daily that can help and support them and allow them to become the best that they can be. And it's free, aka.ms/sped. It will direct you to some free courses on MEC that you are able to access and work through at your own pace, as well as an area where it says, does the child have audio impairments? You click on that and it'll go through all the apps and show you the different settings and the different tools within those apps that can help and support them. So go and check that out, bookmark it, share it with your colleagues, because it is a free resource, absolutely amazing. The school that I'm in is for 3 to 16-year-olds. And I'm predominantly with the 11 to 16-year-olds, but I often get to go down to the younger classes and spend time with them. And I went into a colleague's classroom to see the pupils. I was doing some IT with them, and I noticed they had this mobile hanging outside of their classroom. And on it were these faces: happy, sad, excited, frustrated, angry, and they were all pegs on them. And when I looked a little bit more closely, the pegs are the names of the children on. And as they entered the classroom every single day, they were taking their peg And at the start of the day, they peg where they were, how they were feeling entering school that day. So at a quick glance, the teacher is able to look and see the pupils who were happy, the pupils who were worried, the pupils who were sad, the pupils who were excited about the day, and know who they needed to engage with quickly, so that that feeling didn't escalate as the day went through. But the problem with that wonderful way of getting that overview, I don't know if it's something that you may be using, is that when the pupils move the pegs, the following day, there's no record of where they are. And at Beth this year, I got talking with Bunsey, and we were talking about that mobile idea. And Bunsey integrates so well with so many of the Microsoft products that why not have a emotion board, an emotion Bunsey, where the pupils are able to tag themselves onto it about how they are feeling. Because that way then you are able to trace, let's see if there's a pattern. Does the child come in unhappy every Thursday? Well, let's investigate that. There's a pattern that's there. And it's able to give that help and support further. You could create that in OneNote. You could create it in Teams with a poll. But doing it digitally means that you have got that historical data where patterns can be identified and pupils' emotional well-being can be supported at a greater level. So they're a wonderful idea. They're great for the teacher when it's a physical thing, but when we move it to a digital model, it gives us far greater scope for seeing trends and supporting those pupils further. We all want our pupils to be a team. We want our pupils to work together, to support each other, to help each other, that they identify their strengths and their weaknesses, and they know who they can turn to and ask for help and support. But often to do that, we also have to provide platforms and ways of them to be able to communicate with each other. Getting them speaking to each other in the first instance is often the hurdle that then allows momentum to build towards them becoming the team that we want them to be. And then once they realize the key importance that communication plays within their classroom, then they realize that they are able to connect and work with pupils from across the world. And one of the important things when it comes down to social skills is understanding that people are different, and people have different backgrounds, different beliefs, different interests, different hobbies. But it is so important to understand and appreciate them, and to develop their own personal knowledge of the world that they are part of. So even though pupils may be in a situation where they may never travel more than 50 miles from home, they still need to be aware of the world that is around them and the diversity across it, and to appreciate it and also embrace it. We were fortunate enough as a school to have a video message sent to us by Michael Sheen, the actor. We sent a message to some of the pupils as part of an event that we were running, and they'd asked him the question about what you like most about working around the world. And he told them that he likes meeting people from different backgrounds and from different countries. And he gave the advice to children that we should enjoy the things that we have in common, but to celebrate each other's differences. And we have got some wonderful tools out there, such as Skype in a Classroom and Flipgrid, that actually facilitate this. And when you provide a platform like that, we find that the pupils' social skills start to develop. They all of a sudden no longer have any worries or concerns about talking to people across the world. They will talk to them as if they are physically sitting in the same room as them. And they are not afraid to ask the whys. Why do you do this? Why do you go here? Why don't you do this? Why do you believe this? And it is such a rich experience for them that you actually see that it starts to change their mindsets. Views and opinions can change overnight because of these wonderful learning experiences, and friends are made across the world, and they will start to ask, when can we connect with our friends again? And even through these brief connections, the pupils' skills, communication, collaboration, working with others, they are just starting to develop, which is so important for them. And in using these tools, we also find that it has impact on the children. Do you remember right at the start of this session, I was talking about how a child may have very, very little self-worth and may not think that they are capable of doing things or being as good as other pupils, because no one's ever told them that they are that good. And what we have here is a wonderful tweet that went out from a teacher, and I was sharing this in a session that I did a couple of days ago, where a pupil says to Miss, I realise that I am good at details when I'm talking. I struggle with the writing, but when I talk, I am good. And he's starting to get that feeling inside that I am good at something. And it's going to build that momentum, and that child is going to want to get better and better and better. And that child is developing the skills of identifying where a weakness is, so that as a teacher, you're able to say, look, you do know your stuff. Let's work on this area, and let's kind of really, really push you and help you to become even better. This is one of my favorite photos. I saw this was shared with me by a friend on social media. And here we have that school sports day podium. And it's got your happiness is a state of mind. Look at the look of the kid on their face who got 3rd place compared to the child who got 1st place. Now, you would have thought it would have been the other way around. But look how happy that child is when they achieve. And this is what we need to look at with our pupils. For some pupils, the things that they overcome and their achievements may not be a world record or the highest mark in the class, but it gets them that well done, and it gets them to feel that value and that self-worth, and it leads to them growing in confidence, and it leads to them wanting to better themselves and wanting to engage more and wanting to do more, and they start to roll their sleeves up and they want to get stuck in. See, 1st place is not always the best place, but it's when they know they've done their best and they can sit back and they can be proud of what they've done and happy with what they've done as well, and they want to boast about it. We have a teacher here who shared a tweet about the impact it has in using some of these tools with the pupils in her class. We have a girl, it says here, who didn't say a word for the first 3 months of school. She was then introduced to using Flipgrid, a tool which was being used to help her engage with her classmates where she wouldn't engage with them face to face. Now she raises her hand in class after having started talking through that tool. Boom. And when I saw that boom, and when this tweet was shared, you knew that was the loudest boom you've ever heard. That was a boom that was heard across the world, because that is the impact that these tools can have on a child, engaging the disengaged. Now, I'm not sure if you could type there. I'm not sure if I shared the audio with this. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to unshare, and then I'm going to share again, because this is one of my favorite videos ever, because these children were asked one question: how were you taught to be a good person? What subject in school? So just we'll watch this for a moment.
When I grow up, I want to be a chef, engineer, writer, therapist, a software engineer. I want to be a video game tester when I grow up. Cybersecurity to protect from hacking. English language art. Distributive property and combining like terms. When I grow up, I want to be a good person.
I want to be a person who helps others less fortunate than I am.
I want to be the type of person that can help anyone. I want to be a good person when I grow up. Wait, I gotta think about this. Kind of a tough one.
So what we got there is that advert was put together by Skype in the Classroom, promoting their annual Skype-a-thon. But it was such an important question, and it was thrilling to see all those children talk about what they wanted to be when they grew up. But they were all saying about how they wanted to be kind, how they wanted to help people. But how do we naturally teach those things? How do we help them to develop socially and to look out for each other and nurture empathy and nurture kindness and develop that community and that inclusive classroom with those for those pupils? And that is simply by using the tools that we've spoken about today. And what we find is that as these pupils will grow together, they are producing a support network that they realize the importance of. And then as they move forward and the time comes when that group will actually separate, they will look to establish new support communities where they find themselves because of the skills and the character that has been built within them in the time that they were with you as a teacher. Teaching children kindness, empathy, and compassion are not simply a lesson learned in the classroom. They are values that children need to see and experience frequently. And the challenge here is, are they seeing it through us as teachers? Are we showing them kindness? Are we showing them empathy? Are we showing them compassion? So we're not just telling them about the importance of these things, but they are seeing that we are actually doing what we are telling them to do. There was a wonderful project that was established by a teacher, Koen Timmers, from Belgium, and he was involved with with Dr. Jane Goodall, and they looked at areas of the world where there were children who were not accessing education. And they set up the Innovation Lab schools. And as we look at the size of this project, they were looking for teachers to get involved in this project, and over 800 teachers, nearly 900 teachers, got involved in providing free education to close to 1 million children across the world who were not able to access this. This is the type of thing that children need to see us as teachers doing, that we look to help and support those who are in need and look for opportunities to get involved with Global Goals schools, so that the pupils are saying, I can see that they do it, because if they can see we're not doing it, they're not going to do it. I hope that makes sense. I wonder if we've got any big Minecraft fans in here today. Minecraft has an amazing ability to bond a class. when they are collaborating in a world, you will see pupils who will sometimes struggle to collaborate and engage with their peers. The moment they are immersed in this virtual world will come alive. And I have seen pupils who have been the quiet, least confident in my class, the moment they go into that world, all of a sudden their communication skills go through the roof. They put a headset on, but even with that on, they're pulling it to one side and talking to their peers who are sitting with them, and they are working collaboratively on builds, and they are helping and supporting and advising. And where previously they would have been pupils who became very, very frustrated and with that were becoming angry, they were actually finding a way of expressing the reasons why they were unhappy with each other and talking through those problems that were within the builds. I don't know if you've looked at this world, but if there was ever a time for teachers to kind of encourage other teachers to look at Minecraft or to encourage their pupils to look at it, it's now. Because one of the wonderful worlds that is within Minecraft is actually an adventure called the Mindful Night. And the Mindful Night experience aims to help develop or refine the pupils' social emotional skills with a specific focus on mental health, which is at the forefront of everything that we're looking at the moment. There are learning objectives for the lesson plans that look at self-awareness, where the pupil has it looks like build on developing the skills to be able to identify and look at their own emotions and the influence that has on their behaviour. So they start to reflect on themselves. Looking at the areas of self-management and coping skills, the pupils will develop and demonstrate the ability to regulate their emotions, their thoughts, but then also their behaviours in context with people who are different to themselves. And then the final lesson that we have through the Mindful Night looks at social management, and it looks at how the pupil has the ability to make safe and constructive choices about personal behaviour and social interactions. And there is one of the good friends over here in Wales who's heavily involved in using Minecraft as a teaching tool, always loves to talk about the breathing exercises that are within Minecraft Education Edition, with this lesson on the Mindful Night. And as teachers, he's also got his staff going through it as well. So they're developing these well-being techniques as well for themselves as teachers. So it's worthwhile having a look at that. Some of you may have caught Stephen Reed with what he has, with some of the sessions that he's done. He did a session yesterday, and I know he's got more to come. Before joining Microsoft, he was involved with Immersive Minds, and these wonderful immersive learning worlds were developed by the company so that pupils are able to engage with each other in what was called the toy box lessons. So here we have Pompeii, and within that world, pupils can learn maths, geography, history, drama, art, so many different lessons that are in there, and pupils who may normally not engage in these things will engage with it in these worlds. And when they start to engage with it in these worlds, you will start to see an impact in the real world. And then as we move on, here's another example of one where this is World War I with the trenches, and an English lesson can take place in this, where they can write about their experiences of being inside the trenches, and they start to talk about emotions. And over kind of this side here, there's a monument that says, "Lest we forget." And all the little dots you've got here are the pupils who've been there, and they've planted red flowers, just like the poppies, as an act of remembrance for those who have lost their lives during war. And there are so many lessons, again, in there, engaging lessons where pupils who may normally be disengaged can be engaged, and a whole class can learn together in a virtual environment. And the wonderful thing about an immersive experience in a virtual environment is this question arises. could a greater miracle take place than for us to look through each other's eyes for an instant? How many of you have ever used the phrase, I wish you could know what it was like to be in my shoes? I wish you knew what it was like for me to have to do these things. Immersive Minds produced the Refugee Crisis, a wonderful free learning resource where pupils can understand and actually live through the experiences in Minecraft of a child refugee. Many of us have had children arrive at our schools who've had to flee from horrendous situations, leave home and arrive with very little belongings, and have struggled to fit in because they may be so different to the children who are around them, and the children don't quite understand what they have been through or the experiences that they have had. Through a number of lessons, the children as a class can work through leaving a war-torn country to arriving in a new land and all the challenges that they face, and the impact that it has on children is just unbelievable. And that is a free resource, and it's a OneNote that's created that's got all of the lessons in it. But yeah, seriously, this is the type of thing that helps to develop a classroom. We had 2 brothers from Syria who arrived in our school, and thankfully the pupils did embrace them. But then through doing this lesson, they came to understand exactly what they'd been through, and it strengthened their relationship with those boys as well, and in doing so, it strengthened the class. Quality after school programs provide safe, engaging and fun learning experience to help children and youth develop their social, emotional, physical, cultural and academic skills. So why not take some of these things like Minecraft, like Skype, and start up extracurricular clubs, maybe lunchtimes or after schools, where it's a way of engaging with pupils, getting them to engage with people they may not necessarily engage with, and helped again to develop those social and emotional and an inclusive community within the school. We run a Minecraft club every Wednesday after school. We have about 60 children who come along to it, and the vast majority of them are children who have got educational statements that are there with a need to develop their communication skills and to then engagement skills, because they may not necessarily engage well with others. And we have seen the impact it has had on those children in engaging and talking and making friends. Really, really positive on the way in which it's impacted our school. So think about some of these things, Minecraft especially and Skype, how you could use that in an extracurricular way to help support the children. When we look at an inclusive classroom, it's a class where collaboration is natural, but every single child is different. Every single cog is different. Every single child has different strengths and different abilities. But when they all work together, the magic happens. That is what we should strive for. It's not going to come overnight, but we can start to tick some of those boxes in the apps. We can start to introduce new tools to the pupils. We can start to show parents how they can use some of these tools at home to support them at home, and say that we have got the aim that we are going to be known as a collaborating class, a collaborating community within this lesson. So set that as your aim for the next academic year. I hope that you have found today useful. If you want to reach out to me and you want to talk to me about anything that I have shared, or some of the experiences that I've had, and you want to carry on the conversations, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Lanny_Watkins, or there are my email addresses with work. Also check out education.microsoft.com, where there are free courses that can take you more in depth with some of the things that we've gone through today. But please also check out q.org/Microsoft for more of the amazing Getter sessions that are running through the rest of summer and have run already and are available on demand. And check Twitter daily for the hashtag Getter, where speakers will be promoting their sessions just so you don't miss out on anything that is taking place. Can I thank you for joining today, and I hope that you will take away something that is going to impact your class and change the lives of the pupils that you have, because you are not just changing their lives for that academic year or that time that they are with you, but you are changing their lives when you introduce them to these tools and when you help them to develop those skills that allow them to manage their social and emotional skills so that they are able to engage and understand with others. It will benefit them for life. So thank you ever so much. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. If you do want to ask any, I'll hang around for a bit once I've ended the recording, and we can have a chat then as well. But enjoy the rest of your weekend.